Let's try to start it up here. She did. She did. She did. No horn. She totally did. Okay. Do not pull. Easy strap while vehicle battery is dead or disconnected. Okay, so I'm gonna have to like crawl through this little hump here. All right, so moment of truth here. Nothing. D-E. A-D dead. One of the most consistent issues that has been bothering me since I picked the car up, and I even mentioned some of the thoughts I had and some of the other feedback I've read or listened to about this haptic touch panel here right below the infotainment screen. One of the things I've noticed is, you know, obviously it's intended to kind of be a just capacitive type experience where you can actually possibly hear it kind of clicking. But one of the things I've noticed, now granted, most of these buttons respond, you know, fairly well, fairly quickly. You can see the color changing, the light going from white to red to indicate it's activated or active. But over here on the driver's side, while the cooling arrow works really well, and as you can see, it's dropping the temperature there, oftentimes the heat doesn't work unless I kind of shove my finger back up in here under the screen. It's almost like the contact point where it's looking for you to touch moves around or something. It's really strange. Another item while I've got you here and I've got the camera, got it pointed here at this screen. One issue that pops up every time the car is started, so after it's been powered off, you've returned to the vehicle, you've cycled the power back on, is all of the volume. So if we go here, we go to media, we go to audio settings, we go to volume adjustment. Here you can see the defaults for these 5 categories of volume options. And as you can see, these are the default numbers. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how 15 for the voice is incredibly loud, like it pierces your ears. Same for navigation, it's just stupidly loud. So I'm going to lower these to a more realistic human volume level. Note the amounts. And we're going to take a drive, and then later on I'm going to power cycle the car off when we get to our destination, turn the car back on, and we're going to see if they reset. But if I go to turn on my ventilated seat, oh no, it sounds like I'm going to take off. It sounds like one of those cheap toy remote control helicopters you get at the dollar store. It's pretty bad. And then if I go into the app setting here, nice little bug that's occurring. Instead of taking me to the app settings for the drive modes, it dumps me all the way into the base menu for the settings. This is a bug that I've noticed with this car. So once again, I'm going to hit the drive modes button. I'm going to hit app settings, and it's kind of a dice roll. Here we go. This is the menu that should have appeared the first time I did that. I was loading up the car. I was putting my camera equipment in there. We're about to head out in the Charger and do a couple of videos. And last night we got home. We had done some shopping. We'd grabbed something to eat. And I was on the phone at the time with someone. And it always seems to like throw me off when I'm having a conversation. I seem to like forget my routine of making sure the car is okay. And I do remember my wife got out, and again, this seems to be an issue over here on this passenger door. And this isn't blaming her at all. What I'm just simply saying is this is another situation where we come home from running errands or being out. She gets out of the door to go in the house, take the food or whatever inside. I'm still out here doing whatever I need to do. And this door just doesn't seem to close right. And again, I was on the phone call. Had I thought about it, not been on the phone call, I would have come around here and investigated it. And I really wish I had, because I'm a little upset to come out now and find
here's why the door kept not sounding right when I went to close it. And it's been like this outside all night. And it's been cold. And I am not particularly jazzed about that. So add that to the list of things that I will be talking to Crown Service Center about. And thank God this thing's under warranty, because apparently it's going to go in often. Well, I mean, we'll see. What am I? I'm week 1, week 2 into this thing now. So, hey, I just thought I'd share, and I'll follow up again and let you know what the results are once Dodge gets their hands on this thing. Hey there, Brandon here, Suck a Monkey Garage, and that day has finally come. It's time to take the Charger in for its service appointment. I've got a list of the things that I think could be fixed on it, plus some things that we know have definitely gone wrong. So come with me. We're going to head to the dealer, we're going to head to the service center, and maybe we'll finally find out what truly caused that 12-volt battery to die. So stick with me, and let's get started. Almost made it to the dealer here. The English wife is in the Charger behind me. She absolutely loves driving that car. She looks forward to any opportunity she can get, which is unusual. She normally likes to avoid my toys, so to say, but she has personally claimed the Charger as her own, so she's happy to help me take it over here today, drop it off for service.
You see us men crowded around your car, we admire it.
We got a 10 o'clock appointment to drop off my Charger.
Okay, and what are we doing on it?
Well, when I called in, the initial reason I scheduled the appointment was the seat ventilation fan or something that's in the bottom of it. It sounds like something stuck in the spokes of the fan. Since then, it did experience a car down moment where the 12-volt battery was just dead one day. This was 2 days after I took delivery. It may have been related to a door being left ajar, and I think I figured out why that door didn't fully close, because I also noticed one day the passenger side window didn't drop down all the way like it's supposed to clear the seal around that, since it's a frameless window. So that is also a problem. And the volume resets on all the audio settings every time you power cycle the car. So if you go in and you lower the volume on the nav, when you start it back up again, it's like at 25. And I'm assuming since the 12-volt died, they're going to have to get back in there and
investigate. But I did notice that that's obviously not the first 12-volt battery that's been in that car. There are a lot of like clips and retainers for the cables for the battery that weren't reinstalled. It's just kind of dangling in there. Also, some of the clips over the cover in the front that cover the remote battery terminals. There's a clip on that cover that is broken. Now, I don't know if that's what causes this vibration sound from over there. When the exhaust is running and everything's really loud, there's kind of this resonant. I don't know if it's because that one clip is broken or not, but I noticed that. What were you saying?
The haptic feedback when pushing
but
temperatures.
I've heard there's like an RSU on this for the haptic touch panel that's under the infotainment. But I was told parts wouldn't be available until March, so that may be something we need to bring back or.
We'll look into that.
Okay.
You got a lot going on. I'm trying
Yeah. Hey, it's a new platform. It's a new car. Love the car. It's absolutely blast to drive.
If I can get you to initial there and sign there for me.
Okay.
It will be here for a couple of days, which usually our turnaround time, because it's going to go to advanced technician.
Yep.
24 to 48 hours, what we look at time wise.
Yeah.
And then we should have everything fixed up and ready to go. I will send you a text message here soon.
That works for me.
Okay. We'll just go that way.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Okay, Crown's got the car. I've given them my laundry list of items I'd like them to address. They said it could take a day or two, and that's quite all right. Thankfully, I've got the BMW here to keep me happy while we wait for the Charger to get its service done. I guess we'll do a little bit of a clock wipe, jump to the future, and see what happened a couple days later. Maybe we'll finally know what caused the 12-volt battery to die, and we can put that issue at rest. Let's see. All right, so it's been a few days, and by a few days, I mean 5. I finally got the call from the service advisor. The Charger Daytona is ready to come home. So let's jump in the EV9, head over to Crown, grab the Charger, and hopefully get an answer for what happened to my 12-volt battery. All right, so she's back, picking up the Charger. I do have a nice thick stack of paperwork to go over. I'll cover everything that they found with the car, everything that they did to the car, but it's looking good. And it's ready to go home. So let's head back and I'll get back to my desk and we'll cover everything that the service department shared with me when we get there.
Saturday night, I
Okay, I'm back home. The car's down in the carport, and I've got this big stack of paperwork here. In fact, I think it's 9 pages all together. There are some very, very wordy, very verbose sections here under the cause and the, I guess, the resolution sections. I've scanned them in to make it a little bit easier for me to share with you all. But before we jump into this, if you wouldn't mind heading over to that subscribe button right down there. And, you know, if you're enjoying this so far, it's kind of hard to tell, but maybe later on, after you've already subscribed, before you close this out and go on to the next video, click that like button or leave a comment. Both are ways that I can use to gauge and determine, you know, just how much you're enjoying this content. Enough of that. Let's get into this. There's just a lot of information that the tech left in here, which I think you'll find interesting as we go through it. And I just think that ate up, you know, 9 pages from their system there. One interesting thing too is that it all seems to tie back to one common source. And I'll reveal that as we dig in. So let's go. This new RSU, it's RSU 25-016. It's for both the 24 and the 25 model year LBs, which are the Daytonas. And it's for that integrated center stack, which I'm sure, you know, here I'll play a bit of a flashback to my initial thoughts on it. And it has been something, you know, that's been a bit maligned by other reviewers. It's those haptic touch buttons, that panel, that quite honestly sort of sticks out like a sore thumb right under the infotainment screen. I am looking forward to seeing what the new replacement panel. So this RSU, it's a bit of a silent recall because it affects all models. And apparently they're replacing the entire thing. The unfortunate part of that is it requires an almost, I'd say, halfway disassembly. You know, it's partial but not complete disassembly of the dash. And I have some pictures I can share with you on what that looks like. But boy, if it just functions better, that would be great. So those parts are on order. That wasn't fixed as part of this, but they did include it here because they also needed to order parts for the driver's seat ventilation. Here it is. Under the seat, he inspected under the seat for the seat vent motor and found it to be coming apart. And when he placed his hand firmly on the bottom of it, it would slightly go away, the sound I think he's referring to, but not completely. And then when he lowered, I guess, the housing for inspection, he found that parts on the inside had come apart or maybe broken, causing a terrible clattering noise. There you go. So waiting on parts for that. That didn't get fixed. So that's 2 things down that the car still needs to have repaired on it. But let's get to why we're all really here. What happened to my 12-volt battery? And are all the other issues, the window not going down, which we now believe may have been the cause for the door being ajar, which may be the cause for the 12-volt battery dying, which kind of feels like a chicken and egg scenario there. I really don't want to break my brain trying to wrap my head around that one. As well as some memory settings within the infotainment screen, such as the volume. So maybe those settings, that issue's tied to low voltage, as well as some other just strange things that we'll get through here. But let's start with the real reason I took it in. And that was the 12-volt battery powered all the way down and died after sitting for a few days. Check and advise. So let's see what our technician here discovered. Customer states 12-volt battery powered all the way down and died after sitting for a few days. Check and advise. All right, so he plugged in an MDP and a DLC to run diagnostics through the YTEC and I love this part here, a laundry list of codes for low voltage were present and a lot of other codes that were triggered by the low voltage of the 12-volt battery. You know, I'll give the harbingers of doom about this car some credit. You know, they weren't wrong about this. And so, you know, I can't deny that there may be some validity to their claims when the very car I own myself starts off that ownership experience.
with exactly what they said these cars were doing. Apparently, according to this, that 12-volt battery is A-OK. And I have to agree, because ever since that experience, I have not had a single problem from a starting, powering on the vehicle, starting the vehicle, driving the vehicle perspective. So, all right, experience kind of correlates with what they're seeing. It is strange though, and let's dig in further, and I think you'll start to kind of pick up on what I picked up. You put it back in the tray, you rerouted the cover, installed the hold down nut, you put on the positive terminal, and everything is operating as designed by the manufacturer. And let's just jump down real quick and see. And then here's the part where I said the window. The frameless doors on this car, as with on the Challenger, I have frameless doors on the BMW Z4. They're designed to kind of tuck in, come out, and then when you close the doors, tuck back in to the seal. I wasn't too happy to discover after leaving the car parked overnight that the passenger side window did not do that tuck in, tuck out process. And therefore, the window was up all the way. And so when we went to close the door, it didn't let the door close all the way. In fact, it bent the window out. And I'm beginning to think that may have been what contributed to the door being ajar and caused my car to brick in my last video about that. And so we may have a bit of, again, a root cause here, or at least something that contributed to this 12-volt battery dying. But if you remember earlier, he said that there were a lot of codes and a lot of related codes that all pointed to low voltage of the 12-volt. And I have a feeling that system that controls that could be impacted by that. But okay, so maybe what happened was the 12-volt was low. The window didn't go down and then tuck in. It stayed up, so the door didn't close, so the door stayed ajar. Something stayed on, something stayed awake, whether it was the lights. A lot of people, let me address this thing with the lights too. A lot of people commented, well, my 85 Ranger pickup, if you left the door open or left the lights on too long after 15 or 20 minutes, it would shut off automatically to save the battery. This car does that too. I don't know how many times I can say it. This car does that as well. Something happened that night. Something kept the system awake. And it could be, if the 12-volt was already low, systems can't run through their proper sleep sequence, something may have stayed active and then just killed the battery that was on its way out. And I think this window issue points to that. So if you have a low 12-volt, and you walk out and the window's still up and the door's still slightly open because it can't shut all the way, that's only going to kind of create this power drain cycle. Maybe this is part of it. And to be fair, I said, perhaps the cause is end user error. And in a way, maybe I was right. Perhaps I was wrong. In a way, when I say end user error, in both of the cases where we found the window or found the door not fully closed, there were times when it was late, we were tired, we got home, it was dark, we closed the door, we went, this doesn't seem to be closing right, but it's a brand new car. So you have to remember, I'm getting used to all the noises it makes. The way the Jimny closes is a very distinct sound from the way that the Z4 closes, same with the Charger. Every car sort of has that different clunk as the door closes. And so I just thought, it's the way it is. I've been out. I want to get inside. I want to get comfortable. I want to have a drink, relax, and enjoy the rest of my evening. So maybe I should have gone around and, closely inspected that, made sure that door was closed. But either way, still not something that I feel like we have a real clear answer on. Because as you can see, he tested it and could not get the customer's concerns to duplicate. All right, fair enough. That doesn't always happen. Customer states radio does not retain the volume presets between drives. Check and advise. So here's another one where I believe he isn't able to replicate. Vehicle had numerous low voltage codes set in most of the ECUs. That's a big one. That kind of ties back to the other one. And because I had stated the 12 volt had died, he pretty much says here that probably was the cause of that. and wasn't able to really to replicate it. So he charged and tested it. He was able to pass. It was able to pass all of these tests. And then when he reinstalled it back in, he's claiming everything's fine. I'll be honest. I just got back with the car. I haven't had a chance to test it. So once I could get down there and get in the car and drive it again, we'll see if it retains those volume settings. Now, there were a few items that are related to the 12-volt battery that I discovered within that process of trying to get the car to come back to life. And I've covered a little bit of them earlier. I shared that video clip where I noticed some retainers weren't in all the way, but what I also noticed were some things were broken. And I'm going to go ahead and say here, admit maybe I was wrong. There was a really helpful user. I didn't think they were helpful at the time. And I'm not going to give their username. They're down in the comments. And I have pretty strong suspicion that they are some form of technician, service technician, engineer, someone in Stellantis. Because at the time, it seemed a little far-fetched. But now, having gone through this experience, everything they said pretty much has been verified. And they gave me, again, a list of things to watch out for when taking delivery of the car. And most of them were signs that the 12-volt battery had either been replaced or had been maintained, and that through that process, more than likely, retainers, clips, panels would be broken. There'd be evidence of that. And sure enough, I found that. I found one of the clips on the cover in the front over the remote terminals had been broken and snapped off. I've asked to have that replaced. And you'll see later on that they're gracious enough to do that for me. And then in that area in the cargo, the rear cargo area where the 12-volt battery is back in that panel there behind the wheel well, the rear wheel well, there are some clips that are meant to hold that panel in place and some other pieces that were broken. And so really all of this here is just that they're reporting that in to get all that stuff fixed and replaced under warranty. I mean, come on, it's a brand new car. Let's go on to the next one. Here again, I've already kind of covered this. This is where the wires weren't secured. And then he went through his testing and determined that, there were 6 retainers. It looks like on a lot of these, he was able just to reuse them. Essentially, there are holes in the sheet metal around where the battery tray is and where the battery's mounted, where there are kind of like plastic or rubber retainers wrapped around certain wiring that then have a little plug that goes into that hole. And I think he just went around and punched them all back in. So, hey, safety first, right? And then let's see anything else. That's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it. The rest is kind of standard stuff. So, hey, there you have it. I promised I'd share an update on what happened to brick my car. Is it definitive? Do we really understand what ultimately was that root cause? I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. Do you think this is sufficient? Do you think I should just let this go? Or do you think when I get that call that the parts are in to fix these items they weren't able to address, do you think that I should press them a little bit harder to get more information to understand, okay, when did the logs around the 12 volt, those DTCs, the codes that said, low voltage, when did those start and when did they end? And since you've returned the vehicle back to me, do you show any of those same codes since then? Because that would tell me that the problem hasn't been resolved. Speaking of that problem being resolved, and speaking of the video that I released earlier regarding the car being bricked and the car, me crawling around in the car, I do want to kind of perform a little bit of a public service announcement. So one of the things that came out of that video was I did have some incredibly helpful people, those who work as technicians for Stellantis, obviously at dealerships that sell Dodges, because they were referring, to this car. Point out a few things for me. And one of those things is that as someone who's owned a lot of cars, is somewhat new to the EV world, but does have a couple of other EVs, many of these things we take for granted, such as hooking up a battery booster, a remote battery booster, hooking up a battery tender, battery charger, hooking up, the various things that we would often use to kind of bring a car back to life, start a car, may not be the the best course of action. And so if you are an owner of one of these cars, or if you're considering one of these cars, this is a part where I really need you to pay attention. So I want to introduce you to someone. His name is Jordan Rose. He has a YouTube channel, and he's reached out to me and asked, hey, that these cars are so new that many of the technicians haven't ever had any experience with them, but Jordan has. And Jordan, takes an interest in these cars. And so I've really appreciated the videos that he's been putting out. One of the reasons I bring this up is we need to be really careful with these cars. I clearly wasn't as careful as I thought I was being when I crawled back there and started connecting things, to test, connecting things directly to the battery to charge while the battery was still connected to the vehicle itself. Apparently, not a good idea. And I still obviously have a lot to learn about this car, and so I really do appreciate Jordan bringing these to my attention. But this video here, real quick, was his response, and I don't know if you've seen it, but I advise, and what I'll do is I'll leave a link to it down below in the description. But let's just give a listen real quick and see what Jordan had to say in response to that video.
Hello, my name is Jordan. I'm a certified Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram technician. So I got a car in here today, and been checking some stuff out on YouTube. And I got some information from Chrysler, and I think this would be kind of helpful to some of the owners out here. So yesterday, as perusing YouTube, check this guy out. Socket Monkey Garage. So he's having an issue with his EV charger. Basically where he's having to crawl through the seat, maybe to get some power to this thing so that way he can open it up. I'll link him down below so that way you guys can see what he had going on. So Chrysler gives us this special procedure. We get a lot of information. It's not exactly available to the public, but it's accessing an unresponsive Dodge Charger. There's a little video from Chrysler here. I'm going to show you guys basically what they want us to do when this guy is kind of inaccessible.
Yeah, so I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing here. I think it's best if you just go out there and watch Jordan's videos yourself. He's actually got a few. He has a follow-up to this video, which I think it was great because he released it very quickly, almost I think the next day. And I think it is really important, especially if you are an owner and you do have a vehicle down situation. Open up that trunk. The hood release is the frunk. Open up that frunk. The hood release is like right there where you would expect it to be. It's actually a little strap. It's not a handle or anything. And open up that remote terminal panel and boost it from there. That's what he does in this video. But if you are going to charge this battery, do it disconnected. But honestly, these cars are still under warranty. And to Jordan's point, and to echo the same sentiment from other technicians who've reached out to me, it's under warranty. Let them take care of it. Let them assume the risk. If they do something wrong and they fry something, it's on them, not you. But it's also your safety and your health. We're talking a vehicle system here with a very high voltage drive battery that, if not handled properly, if you touch some of those orange wires in the wrong way, could be life-ending. But he also has another video here where he follows up.
Charge directly.
And as you can see, he goes through the whole procedure, not just the getting the vehicle back into a state where you could get it towed or get it started back up and get it home or get it to a dealer. He actually walks through the process that they have in their system for pulling the battery out, charging it, troubleshooting it, getting it back in. So if you are a Stellantis tech and you just want to actually see someone who's done this several times to vehicles as they come in to make sure that their 12-volt batteries are healthy, go ahead and check them out. This has been Brandon. I do appreciate you being here, and you take care, and I'll see you in the next one.